I'm going to talk about a part of the intermontane region that I've mentioned, and that's the Great Basin. The Great Basin is this area sandwiched in between two large mountain ranges. On the one side, on the western side, the Coast Ranges that we also go and throw in the Cascades and Sierras. And then on the eastern side, the Rocky Mountains, which extend all the way up into Alaska, but technically go all the way down through Central America. And if you get even further technical, go all the way down to South America. Previously, I've shown this when I looked at the major rivers found in the United States. I talked about the drainage basins, talked about the Missouri, Mississippi, and Ohio drainage basin, talked about the Great Lakes, how they ended up into the via the St. Lawrence Seaway, end up into the Atlantic. Parts end up towards the Arctic. Over here on the West Coast, everything goes over to the Pacific, except for the Great Basin. So in the case of the Great Basin, what we have is we have what we call internal drainage. So all the rivers, although they're few and far between, all the rivers flow inward to a lake or an area in which those rivers all come together and collect. And so essentially there's no river to carry whatever it's carrying, whether it be water, sediment, rafters, whomever, doesn't have anywhere to carry it to an ocean. And so this also explains why, which is located here, the Great Salt Lake, there in Salt Lake City, Utah, why the Great Salt Lake is so salty. It's salty because the same thing why the oceans are salty. Oceans are salty because of essentially the land surface has what's this called sodium in it. And so over time, that sodium is picked up by wind, water, ice that move it, and then essentially move it via rivers and then dump it out into an ocean, or you get the hydrologic cycle, dumps it out in the ocean as rain. And so over time, we have evaporation. So the oceans, evaporation occurs in which water goes from liquid to gas. And so as it rises, the salt is left behind, which is why, the hydrologic cycle, why it continues on. Clouds continue on with precipitation, doesn't carry with it the salt is left behind in the ocean. Same idea with the Great Salt Lake. It's salty because the rivers drain into this one salt lake, in which over time evaporation occurs. That salt lake, the water that's part of the lake evaporates, and what's left behind, the sodium from the sediments being carried via the rivers, and that's the salt.